Hi, my name is Marina Manoukian. I'm the head of family law at ADLI Law Group. Today, I would like to talk to you about what it's like to go through divorce, the basics of divorce. First of all, in the court system, we call divorce marital dissolution. So let's learn the real name for what we're going through. Second, it's important to know that every divorce has to go through the court system. It doesn't mean that everybody has to show up to court, have hearings, have a judge decide, but the paperwork certainly has to go through the court system. There is no way to get a divorce in California without going through the court system. So now let's talk about what's involved in getting a divorce. Once you file your papers in court, it's called the petition for marital dissolution. There are 4 aspects of divorce that need to be decided. Not all 4 aspects apply to every case, but here they are. First, the all-important issue of child custody. Now, this is the most important for parents going through divorce. Child custody comes into 2 components. The first one is called legal custody, and that means the decision-making power of parents regarding the welfare of their child or children. And decisions such as schooling, where the child lives, what religion the child practices, non-emergency medical care. Those are legal custody decisions. And the parties have to decide whether they want sole custody, sole legal custody, or joint legal custody. And if they can't agree, the court will decide for them. The second part of custody is called physical custody. And what that means is where the child lives and how often the child sees the non-custodial parent. And that's called visitation. Every family is different and every family dynamic is different. So what every family needs to decide is what's in their best interest so that the child sees both parents on a constant basis, because that is what is important to the court system. We've talked about child custody. Now the next step is child support. In California, child support is determined by the California guideline formula. It's a sophisticated formula drafted by legislature, but we have it down to a science because it's now a calculation that a program called DissoMaster does. And the components to deciding child support involve the parent's income, the percentage of time each parent spends with the child, and other expenses that might affect their disposable income. And so once we have the number for the income and the percentage, it's easy to calculate. Where it gets really kind of wild and hairy in family law is when we have parties that are self-employed and obviously are undershowing income. But in general, the guideline support is calculated to benefit the child so that the child can be supported by both parents. The third component is spousal support. That's commonly known as alimony. And spousal support doesn't get triggered in every case. It gets involved when we have long-term marriages or when we have a big discrepancy in the party's income. Now, permanent spousal support is not based on a formula. It's based on the factors contained in Family Code 4320. And some of those factors include, obviously, the income of both parties. Maybe one party has not worked at all because that party has taken care of the children and the house. How one party has helped the other party attain a degree, experience, or job, and the ability of the paying party versus the need of the receiving party. But temporary spousal support or alimony is calculated on a guideline, but that is temporary. And what we mean by temporary is while the case is pending and there's no judgment, we call these orders temporary orders. The last component is division of community property. California is a community property state. California is also a no-fault state, which means that if it's one person's fault that you're going through the divorce, that person does not end up having less in the division of property. And when we talk about division of property, we're talking about community property. And what that generally means is property, including assets and debts that were acquired during the marriage or from sources acquired during the marriage. And the opposite of community property is called separate property. And separate property means the property you've acquired prior to the marriage and after the date of separation. But again, you have to sometimes trace it back to the source to determine whether it's community or separate property. In California, community property is supposed to be divided equally among the parties going through a divorce. That doesn't mean that you take, a dining room set and one person gets the 6 chairs and the other one gets the table. What that means is that the 2 columns on each side for each party have to level out to be equal. And so you take the dining room set, the other party takes the car. One party takes the house, the other party takes the family business. You try to divide in kind to be equal. At the end, if it's not equal, the party having more assets would be paying an equalization payment to the other party to equalize. That pretty much talks about all of the components going through divorce. Now, there are other tangential issues such as attorney's fees, credits and reimbursements, but that's too complicated for our discussion today. I wanted to introduce you to what it feels like to go through a divorce and the general decisions you will most likely have to make in order to get your divorce from the beginning to the end. The last thing I want to say is that a lot of divorces get resolved by settlement, and that's where you want to be. You don't want a third party like a judge to be making decisions for you. So it's best to give settlement a really good try, because that way you're involved in the decision. This is all I have to say for today. My name is again Marina Manoukian. I've been doing this for 23 years, and if you're inclined to go through divorce, give me a call.